Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. For those idiots, let's clarify something, okay? If your father commits a crime, we're going to punish your father for that crime. If my father commits a crime, we're going to punish my father for that crime. Equally, okay? Now, if his father commits the same crime as your father or my father, he should be punished the same way. Correct? Correct. Now, deal? Deal. Good. All right. So, if the Russians attack, destroy civilians, kill civilians, and destroy civilian infrastructure, that is under an international law a war crime. Correct? Correct. That's a crime, right? That's his daddy's crime. Now, if the Ukrainians attack civilian targets and kill civilians and the civilian infrastructure is destroyed in Russia, that's a war crime, isn't it? The same crime, right? So if, let's say, United States bombards, let's say, Canada, Toronto, for instance, or let's say not Toronto, where is Trudeau? In Quebec, right? In Quebec, not Quebec, what the hell is that name? Ottawa, Jesus Christ, Quebec, yeah. In Ottawa, all right? Let's say United States attacks Ottawa and kills, God forbid, civilians or civilian infrastructure. That's a war crime, correct? Correct. So I gave you your father, my father, their father. All right. So let's put things to rest. If anyone kills civilians, targets civilians or civilian infrastructure under the international law, that's a war crime. And I'm not saying that. United Nations just declared that again and warned the Ukrainians that if they continue targeting civilian targets in Russia, that's considered war crime and it's illegal under the international law. Let me read this article, all right? So this article comes from Russia Today, the 24th of August 2023. United Nations warns Ukraine over attacks on Russian civilian targets. Kiev's use of drones against Moscow and border regions was raised at the Security Council. Let me show you something. You see these blue dots here on the map? According to the Russians, these are attacks on civilian targets, most of them, as I cover them. Because if I push on one, it's going to be what? Ukrainian forces fired artillery shells at the village. All right, so all these things, according to the Russians, are attacks of the Ukrainian military on the civilian targets. All right, so this is according to them. Let's go back to the article. The United Nations is concerned about the shelling and drone attack on Russian civilians, which contravenes international law. Hey, weasos, whoever you are over there, got that? Undersecretary General Rosemary DiCarlo, Monte Carlo, told the Security Council on Thursday. Ukraine has ramped up artillery attacks on Russian regions Donetsk, Kursk, and Belgorod over the past 3 months. Belgorod, Kursk, and here is Bryansk if you want. All these things, and if you don't want, I will use them anyway. As its much heralded offensive on the Zaporozhye front failed, the shelling frequently employs US-supplied cluster munitions banned by most UN member states. Kiev has also ramped up attacks to target Moscow's financial district with drones. Correct, there's no doubt about that. The UAVs that managed to slip past the Russian capital's air defenses have caused minor property damage, but so far no casualties. Oh, I thought that Russians destroyed all the UAVs. Okay, well, whatever, right? Let's quote here. We are also concerned about the possible impact on civilians of the shelling of Russian border communities and drone attacks deep inside Russia, including Moscow, end quote, said DiCarlo, an American diplomat overseeing political and peace-building affairs since 2018. And I'm quoting again, Miss DiCarlo. Attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure, wherever they may occur, are indefensible and strictly prohibited under international law, she said. Got that? DiCarlo made the remarks as an aside to the speech focusing on condemning Russia's full-scale invasion and expressed the UN UN's unwavering commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders. So this thing, the remarks were made at a speech focused to obviously condemn Russia, and she made those comments. Russia's ambassador to the UN, Nebezhnya Vasily, told the Security Council that Ukraine's conflict was a proxy war against Moscow planned at least since 2014 by Washington, London, and Brussels, who are, quote-unquote, not at all interested in stopping it, end quote. And I'm quoting again Nebezhnya, whatever his name is, Nebenzia. We would not be where we are if the Kiev regime had not launched a war in 2014 against its own Russian-speaking citizens in the east of the country. You remember that piece of information? The Western mass media forgot about it and failed to comply with the UN-approved Minsk agreements, which their authors admitted were employed to prepare Ukraine for war, Nebenzia said. Remember what that was? It was Hollande, the president of France then, and it was Merkel, the Chancellor, Angela Merkel, the former Chancellor of Germany. They said, well, we just needed time for Ukraine to arm. Anyway, so you got that. That is prohibited under international law. So call it as it is. Got that? So I don't want to hear, well, the Ukrainians hit Moscow, but the Russians conducted another terrorist attack on the civilian population in Ukraine. Did you notice the double standard, the semantics that I used? The Ukrainians hit, and these guys committed terrorist attacks on that, which is basically the same thing. Now you say, well, the proportion, Emil. Well, let's put it this way. Let's say someone rapes someone else 50 times, and someone else rapes someone else 150 times. Okay, I got it. So here you have, my friends. I hope we clear this. Okay, we cleared it. And you're not gonna hear this guy saying, "Oh my God, it's a terrorist attack, a drone." I just covered a minute ago a piece of news where an S-200 missile was sent towards Moscow by the Ukrainians. Watch that video. Thank you very much for being with me again today. It just happened. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.